Hi, advisory. Each week leading up to the SAT, you'll have an opportunity in your advisory class to learn some skills and practice those skills for both the math and the English/writing portions of the SAT. So, with our first week here, I just want to let you know that you'll have access to a formula sheet when you take the SAT, which is obviously very helpful. You don't have to run around with these formulas memorized, not all of them, anyways. But some of them are so common and useful that it can help you quite a bit during the course of the test to have those formulas memorized so that you don't have to go back and forth to the formula sheet. So this first week, we're going to take a look at percents. And this is a little bit tough to see on your screen, but it's easier to see on your page. So anytime that we have what you might have heard referred to in grade school as the part and a whole, there's 8 slices in the whole pizza. You get 4 of those. What percentage of the pizza do you get? Half, 50%, right? So if we look at an example, 10 over 25. If we express that fraction, 10 over 25, as a percentage, we would take 10, divide by 25, multiply by 100. When your grade school teacher said move the decimal 2 places to the right, that's what you were doing, was multiplying by 100. So 10 divided by 25 gives us 4 tenths, times 100 is 40%. So we would say that 10 is 40% of 25. How might that look on some type of handout, test, quiz, SAT problem? What number is equal to 40% of 25? So what number, well, that's what we're looking for. We're going to represent that as a variable, x of 25, so x over 25. And if it's equal to 40%, we know that we can represent 40% as 0.4 as a decimal. There's another way that you could look at this type of problem, though. Anytime that you have a percent problem, you can write it as a proportion by writing the percent over 100. So 40 over 100, that fraction represents 40%, 4 tenths. Our other ratio is x over 25, and we set those two equal to each other. So we know that anytime that we have a proportion, that this is always true, the cross products are equal. So we could say 100x equals 25 times 40. So 100x equals 1,000, and then x equals 10. So 10 is 40% of 25. So this ability to write a percentage as a proportion can help you a lot with working through some of these problems on the SAT. So let's look at an example problem from a released practice exam. It says, Kelly surveyed 250 people in her neighborhood and found that 170 of them had at least one pet. If Kelly's findings generalized to the entire population of her town, which has a population of 34,000, how many people in Kelly's town have at least one pet? So one of our first moves here is we need to break down and figure out what this question is asking us. How many people in Kelly's town have at least one pet? Okay, what information do we have in the problem that can help us solve that? Well, we know that she talked to 250 people in her neighborhood, and 170 of them had a pet. Okay, so that's the information we have, and we know her whole town has a population of 34,000. This sentence here, Kelly's findings generalized to the entire population. What does that mean? So what that's telling us is we're taking her sample, 170 pets out of 250 neighbors that she talked to, and setting that as a ratio that we're going to use to write a proportion, and use that proportion to estimate the number of pet owners in her entire town. So the whole number in her neighborhood was 250. The part of them that owned pets was 170. So on the other side of our fraction, the number of pets over number of people in town. So here's our proportion. 170 over 250 equals X over 34,000. Dating back to middle school, you all have been solving proportions. Just in our example above, we know that cross products are equal. So 250 times X equals 170 times 34,000. So you can open up the calculator that is on your Chromebook, or if you have a hardware calculator, use that. So 170 times 34,000 equals 5,780,000. We divide both sides by 250. And when we solve that, we find out that X is equal to 23,120, and that is answer C. Sometimes with the math problems, and especially with percent problems, you can kind of back of the envelope calculate, depending on what your values are. 170 out of 250, it's definitely more than half. It's a little more than 60%, but these numbers are big enough. 34,000, 60% of that, that's not the kind of thing that we're probably going to do in our head while we're taking this test. And when you have access to a calculator, use it. So that gives us this value, 23,120, to solve this SAT practice problem. So now, as you wrap up advisory, I would like for you all to practice one on your own. Take a look around in your classroom. How many of the students in your class today are wearing Crocs? And then, how many total students in your class? Write that as a ratio and use that to write a proportion to estimate how many students at Morton today, which has an enrollment of 1,570, are wearing Crocs.